Sunni and Shia, these are what religion? Come on, Islam. Islam. What we want to do is get our geographical bearings. And if this is Israel, what is this body of water over here? Come on, the Mediterranean. Now somewhere over here we have another body of water. What's it called? Persian Gulf. The Red Sea's over here. Persian Gulf. What we have up here in the north is Turkey, not the Thanksgiving one, but the nation, Turkey. And it's important that we understand why Turkey is in the position she's in, because prophetically this is going to play a major role. Prophetically, the waters of the Euphrates River are going to dry up that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. It is Turkey who is presently capable of and boasting and promising, if they don't like what you're doing down here, we'll just shut off the water. Listening? And we'll dry up the Euphrates. How are they doing that? Because they have built huge dams, hydroelectric dams up here. And they literally can shut off the Euphrates River, which is a powerful river. It's coming down and down and down. And there's another one coming out of Turkey, out of the mountains, and it's the Euphrates. This is the Euphrates and this is the Tigris. I'm trying to get these things together. There's a place where these two great rivers approach one another but don't mix. That's important. This is the Euphrates. And this is the Tigris. Now through the years, through the centuries, different languages and different cultures changed the names of some of these bodies of water. Things change when people and nations and governments change. But this is very important that we understand down here is Saudi Arabia. Sorry for the scribble. SAU, Saudi Arabia. As we put more information on the board, I'm going to ask you about Saudi Arabia. And ask you which one of these sects, S-E-C-T-S, of Islam is Saudi Arabia.
And the Shia.
No.
Well, the Sunni are the bigger one, but the Shia the dominant ones.
Well, the Shia is becoming the dominant one. But until we got rid of Saddam Hussein, until he was bumped off, pushed out, kicked away, 70% of the population of Iraq was Shia. But the 20%, 30% of Sunni controlled the whole country and the religious elements. Persian Gulf. Now, why is this important? Because Daniel is having a vision. And he is describing what he's seeing and what he's hearing, but he doesn't understand it. And he is constantly asking the angels, various angels, in his visions and dreams and whatever, what does this mean? In Daniel, particularly in chapters 7 and 8, this information is vital. As a matter of fact, when Ellen White is writing about the time of the end, she says the great rivers of Shinar. Here we are with the great rivers of Shinar. And she specifically mentions the Hiddekel. Now, if you don't know geography, if you don't know topography, if you don't, then all of this is mumbo jumbo, but it is very much the heart of what is going on for the last 30, 40 years with American politics, American military, American money, very much what's going on. Why do you and I care about it? Because something is going to happen that will be a prophetic trigger. Tell me what a trigger is for. Until you pull the trigger, you don't have anything but potential. There are prophetic triggers. And what is going on here is a series of prophetic triggers. So Daniel is trying to sort out what's going on, and he says to the angel, I would understand this. Tell me what it means. And so Gabriel appears in 7 and 8 and says, you need to understand this, O son of man, Daniel. You need to understand this. This vision is at the end. All right? Now, I'm not going to get into the historical background. We've applied the end to 3,000 years and whatever. This vision is at the end. And these visions have to do with these rivers and what's going on. So we have Iran. This is Iraq. This is the Ulai River. And in modern terms, the Karun River. Why is it important? Because Daniel is specifically given a vision, and he describes where he's standing, what he's seeing, and I was standing beside the great river Ulai. Great is kind of because it's not a great body of water, but it plays a very important role in triggering the time of the end. So this river Ulai moves for several hundreds of miles and joins the great rivers of Shinar, the Euphrates and the Tigris, who have joined their waters up here, and just a few kilometers south, the Ulai is pouring its waters into the great waters of the great rivers of Shinar. Why is this important? Because it says in Daniel that Gabriel was standing. I saw the angel standing at the widening of the Ulai. Have you ever been to New Orleans? You don't want to linger there. I remember my first drive through New Orleans, and I was looking ahead because I'm driving, and all of a sudden I look up here and there's a great ship, an ocean-going ship up higher than I am down here. And me thinketh, this is not right. This is not right. Well, New Orleans stands at the head where the Mississippi River, the great Mississippi River, draining the heartland of America. The great Mississippi River is going to come together at New Orleans with other bodies of water, more localized water, and it is pouring millions of tons per year, millions of tons, not simply of water, but of mud and silt and sediment. And as it gets to New Orleans, it begins to push against piles of mud that have already been previously poured into the delta, the Mississippi Delta. This is really important that we understand what's going on. The expression, Gabriel is standing at the widening of the Ulai, is where the Ulai pours its waters into the great rivers, and you create a delta. You create piles of mud that over time harden, thicken, and will support the weight of men, military, and machines. Are you listening? It's been some time since I really went digging online about some of the things that I found 30, 40, 45 years ago. So I went last week and pulled up Iran, and I pulled up satellite images of the place where the Ulai River pours into the Tigris and Euphrates, the Hiddekel. Are you listening? I saw something. I had to zoom in to see what is going on here. The Iranians want very much to take over Iraq. They want very much to take over Syria. They want very much to bond with their proxies and have the Russian flotilla balance the power equation in the Middle East against the U.S. So this is going to be a bullseye right here. So what I saw in the satellite image, and you can do this online, that's what I did 8 or 10 days ago. I saw in the satellite image something going on over here on this side of the line. That would be Iran. And I zoomed in and I could see that this is military. So the Iranians are building up a base of operations right here in view of crossing and taking over Iraq, controlling, and Syria. Why do they want this? Why do they want to expand and go in with military? Who do they hate most? Come on. Israel. And they want a land bridge. And according to the prophecies of Daniel and Revelation, there's going to be activity here that at the end of all of this is going to send these forces along with the kings of the East. Tell me who the kings of the East would be. China. Is China an ally of Shia or Sunni? Shia. The Russians want in on all of this, and so the Russians and the Chinese are both allied with Iran. Iran, Iran. Okay? Why is this important? Because President Trump has decided to back out of a would-be treaty that a previous president signed on. And President Trump has increased the sanctions unmercifully, or whatever, against Iran. And Iran is begging the Russians and the Chinese to come and stand with us against the United States and Israel. All of this is prophecy. All of this is described in the Bible. thousands of years before it comes to pass, and we are watching it come to pass. Watching it. By the way, Ellen White in this context said, teach these things. Teach these things. Why? Because you need to know who you are and where you are in prophetic time. You need to know. Now, let's do this a different way. If you have something of great value, maybe it's gold, maybe it's jewelry, whatever. If you have something of great value, how do you protect it? How do you protect it? Number one, you do something. What do? You lock it up, right? Hiding it would be a way of locking it up. If you have something of great value, you lock it up. Now, what God has demonstrated through the entire Bible, entire Old, New Testament, all of this, what God has demonstrated is that there is some knowledge, some information that He does not want understood. He does not want it known until. And it is something of such great value that God locks it up. And He gives command, don't touch it. John saw something with the seven thunders, heard the seven thunders. He said, I was about to write it down. And by the way, who said no? It was Michael, standing in the same place and position as Michael in Daniel chapter 12. No, shut it up and seal it. But there's a little book in the hand of the angel, and the time has come in Revelation 10 to open the book. That hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened yet. We have several prophetic events that we must endure. The whole world is going to come together at the end, which we call Armageddon. And who is going to come to the battle? Come on. Who's going? Well, the Chinese kings of the East are coming. Out of the north, Gog and Magog's out of Russia. Check your geography out. Who's going to come to the battle? Well, let's just go back and get a little Bible history for a moment. God calls Abram out of his own home, his own land, his own family. God calls him and says, I want you to come to a place that I'll show you. I want you to leave your home. I want you to leave your family. I want you to come to a place that I will show you. Did Abraham have GPS?
No.
Did he know anything about where he was going? No, he had never been there before. Where was he going? To Canaan. Christians sing songs about sweet Canaan land and all this, that. Do you know what? Look up Canaan sometime and see what it means. Where one is beaten and dragged through the dust. That's what Canaan means. Who in the land of Canaan was beaten and dragged through the dust, the dirt? Come on, Messiah, Jesus. And God is calling Abram, or Abraham, he would become, to come to a place I'm going to show you. Now, what was the great purpose in bringing him to Canaan? Abraham, I'm going to show you everything east and west and north and south, and I'm going to give it to you and your posterity. What's the next word? Forever. Okay? Now, Abram, not yet Abraham, Abram listened to this with considerable interest. And he said, how can this be, seeing I go childless? As a matter of fact, he was already aging to the point, and his wife was way aging past the point that you can expect to have posterity, children, a child, anything. God not only promised them land, but he promised him an heir. What was the heir's name when he was born? Isaac. Isaac. Who was born first, Ishmael or Isaac? According to the law of the day, the firstborn shall inherit the wealth of the father. We all know this story, but I don't think we know the story. How can this be, seeing I go childless? I promise you a son. And this was reinforced by 3 angels coming, meeting with Abram and Sarah out in the desert of Canaan. All right? And this one angel of the 3 seemed to be more important, more responsible. And he said, a year from now, your wife Sarah is going to bear you a son. How old was she? How old was he? 90. He was 99, she was 90. That's a great time to have children. Abram, didn't comment except seeing I go childless, and the angel says, you're not going to be childless. A son is going to be born to you and to your wife Sarah. But somebody was in the tent back there with the ear to the tent to try and snoop. And when she overheard the conversation, what did she do? How did she react? She laughed. 90 years old, she laughed. I dare say any of us would have done the same thing in the position that Abraham and Sarah were in. The problem was the devil had already anticipated that something like this was going to happen. And he made sure that Ishmael got into the picture. What was Ishmael's problem? Not his daddy, but his mama. She was of what culture, what background, what nationality? She was an Egyptian. And so what you have is a marriage between Abraham, who is not an Egyptian, and an Egyptian. Now, what did this do for Ishmael when he was born? Tell me what he got out of this. I'm talking about genetically, prophetically, all of this. What did Ishmael get out of all of this? What? No. His mama, his mother, Hagar, laughed when she became pregnant. And Sarai, her owner, was still barren. So who laughed first? Hagar or Sarai? Hagar laughed first. She laughed for a different reason. Because she knew that Abraham was rich beyond measure for the day. And she knew that her son, being born, was going to be heir to all of this wealth. And this wealth was not only money, it was not only flocks, it was land. Now, who was working through this so-called marriage event? Who was working through all of that to try and stake a claim? Not try, to stake a claim on the land. Why did he want to stake a claim on the land? because God had made it clear and makes it clear through the prophets, particularly the Old Testament, that he has laid claim to, and God had staked a claim on this land. As a matter of fact, if you follow through Daniel and Revelation, the holy city, New Jerusalem, is going to come down from God out of heaven. And where is it going to rest? Right here. Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a prophetic trigger, just the word. So who is trying to use force to take control of the land that God says, this is mine, I have put my name on it? Who is trying to take it back? Who is trying to drive Isaac and Isaacites out? We're going to push them into the sea. They are trying. They fire missiles on almost a daily basis over into Israel just to harass, just to say, we're here, don't worry, we're going to get you. Now we have a president presently in this country who decided that we are allied with Israel and we are going to prove it, and we're going to move our embassy, the American embassy, the embassy of the United States of America, we're going to move it to Jerusalem. Was that an uh-oh moment? That uh-oh moment hasn't even begun yet. I mean, it has, but it hasn't. Oh my, yes. We're in the process of building the new U.S. embassy in Jerusalem. Now, in Iran, that's the Sunnis in Iran, every day, somewhere in Iran, the government puts a crowd of people into the streets, and they are chanting and they are burning American flags and Israeli flags, and throwing them on the ground, which is the greatest insult that you can offer in that part of the world, is to be walked on. Okay? Every day in Iran, somewhere in Iran, the government has a crowd of people who are marching through the streets, shouting. What are they shouting? Death to America and death to Israel. And we're going to push Israel into the sea. They are going to be pushed out of the land that belongs to us. How long is this going to go on? Until the Battle of Armageddon. Until the Battle of Armageddon, which is a spiritual battle, but a literal battle. The temple in Jerusalem that was built through centuries past, the temple to God, was it built in a valley? Or was it built on?
It was built on higher ground because it was where Isaac was off.
It's Mount Zion. It's the mountain in Jerusalem where the temple was built. All right? Now the Muslims wanted to be absolutely certain that that's not going to happen. They're making certain that that does not happen. And so what have they built on top of the Temple Mount? Thank you. A Muslim church, mosque, right? Have the Israelis, some hot-headed Israelis, tried to blow it up? Come on. Now, you and I are familiar enough with what's going on in this image right here. This is a lion with eagle's wings. This is a bear. This is a leopard. This is a nondescript, terrible beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, in other times and for other reasons, we would have put right here, United States of America. Right here we would put Russia. And right here we would put China. Why didn't we do that?
In our book?
Yeah, why didn't, when we were printing this, why didn't we go ahead and name the actors? Why didn't we do that? Well, let me ask you this. If we had named the actors, would things be happy in the Middle East? Would things be happy in Washington, D.C.? No, we would never get another copy out. It would be trashed by the government, by the governments, by those who don't like their dirty little secrets to be known. Right? Right. Why didn't we put? Well, because God said don't do that. I was tempted when we were printing it to do that. No. No. Ishmael and Ishmaelites hate the Isaacites. Right? Who was born first? Is Ishmael demanding the birthright? How long have they been demanding the birthright? 3,000 plus years. A prophetic trigger would be pulled if the Ishmaelites made a move on Jerusalem. Made a move to So where is this going prophetically, and why does it involve you and me and us and whatever? Because the United States of America has allied itself with Israel. Well, we have the strength and we have the power and we have whatever, but according to the lion with eagle's wings, what happens to the eagle's wings? What happens to the lion's heart? And when the eagle's wings are plucked and the lion's heart is plucked, how does the bear behave? He raises himself on one side, which is the fighting posture of the bear. And what does the leopard do? How is he announced to the world? How many heads? How many wings? Now just symbolically, that represents moving swiftly. But it means these two powers, the bear and the leopard, are trying to fill the shoes of the lion who is being humbled. Now the question is, do the Chinese beat us up? If time were to persist, the answer would be yes, but that's not what's going to happen. In Daniel 7 and 8, we have a situation that the he-goat with 2 horns pushes and pushes and pushes and angers a power in the West. Now we can identify this power because he is across the waters. He's not on this side of the waters. He's on the other side of the great waters, the Atlantic. That's clearly posed in the visions. He came across the face of the whole earth without touching the ground. And he came to the ram which I had seen standing beside the river. He came to him in the fury of his power. And he threw the ram to the ground and stamped on him. And the next verse says, and nobody helped him. the ram, the Shia ram. We're about to find a war between the United States and Israel and Iran and her friends. Will it happen today? I pray not. Will it happen next week? I pray not. Because there is enlightenment in both the visions that were given to Daniel, what the circumstances were and would be, and Ellen White has written pages and chapters and pages and chapters about the circumstances that will arise at the time of the end. The Advent people were raised up, and we are Advent people. We're not denominationally Advent, but we are Advent people. The Advent people were raised up to tell the world that Jesus is returning soon, and that the hour of His is come. Now we've turned that judgment into negative, 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 negative. What it really says is the time has come for the Messiah to receive His inheritance. The judgment is in His favor. The judgment is good, not negative. We're approaching the time of judgment. Why does the whole world need to know that? I mean, we've been 6,000 years not knowing much of anything. Why is there this one moment, this one grand event that the whole world has to know? So somebody look real quick in Amos 3:7 and read it for us. Amos 3:7. If you can't find it, I'll quote it. Surely the Lord God will do nothing, but first He reveals His secret through His servants, But here we are at the time of the end, and God says, lock it up until. So when this focus on the book of Daniel, and what will focus it? It's called the latter rain, and what or who in the time of the latter rain will focus it? The two witnesses. Moses and Elijah, they will come to call the world. The books will be opened, and the judgment set. There's so much to this. Elmira came to me this week and she said, boy, you need to read this again. I need to read it again. Iran is next, and I don't know the author, Charles E. Wheeling, but I read this in pages and pages and pages and pages, and I got through 2 pages. It is taken from my seminars, verbatim, and typed out. And I could not believe this much information was given 40 years ago. Surprised even me, myself, and I. This information stirred a very large element or segment of Adventism, to the point that we have reached somewhere between 50 and 60 million publications in 160 plus countries of the world. From the backwoods of Jemison, Alabama. That didn't just happen, folks. God has done something that you won't believe if you see it. Well, my personal conviction is that what has been done so far is just the beginning. And if we follow the prophetic triggers, the prophetic enlightenment in Daniel and Revelation, we can know when the time has come for the latter rain to be poured out. And print, distribute, share. How far? So listen to Jesus. This gospel, good news of the kingdom, by his own definition. This gospel of the kingdom must first be preached for a witness unto all what? Nations. We're not there yet. How can we get there in a hurry? Well, we could start naming the bad guys. We would want to change the address in the front of the book. We're about to see a tremendous change in things in this country and on this planet. Things are about to turn very beautifully prosperous. It's even foretold in the New Testament. It's foretold in the writings of Ellen White. Just before the end, there will be a great period of prosperity. See? When all are looking forward to many years of earthly prosperity, suddenly as the lightning flashes in the heavens will come the end of their bright visions and delusive hopes. We have a little time, a little window, prophetically speaking, in the which we need God's wealth and we need God's Spirit, and we need to print all the books we can get, and they need to be delivered. This time not by foot traffic, but by paying whatever the cost is for the postal services to deliver it. Every home in the United States and Canada. Every home in Great Britain, Germany, France, the entire continent of South America. Are you listening? Do you have any idea how much money something like this might require? It's not a problem. Jemison, Alabama has mountains of cash. Things are going to change very quickly now, very quickly. They're changing in the news on a daily basis. I don't know which announcement will come first or next or second or third. It doesn't matter. We have enough light in the prophecies to know we are nearing, knocking on the door. And I want to say again, I've tried to say to you, this little group of people here, you have no idea that you and I are about to be caught up in international affairs. Not just local, not just our problem. My problem is, I'm 77, and I'm not in the best of health. And whatever this ministry is going to do, it needs to get on with it. And I believe God is indicating that. And I believe God is going to make the way. I do with all my heart. Father in heaven, we can see how hundreds and thousands of years you have been plotting and planning and staging. You have promised that the message will go to every kindred, tongue, nation, and people. We talk about the three angels' messages. I believe this little ministry, this humble work, was raised up to do a large work in giving the message of present truth to the world today. I'm asking that you use us again to accomplish mighty miracles. Mighty. And you've got to hurry, Lord, because we're running out of time. And that's what your angel said to Ellen White. Tell the people, hurry, hurry, hurry. Thank you for the sure words of your book. Thank you for the promises that will be met. And I just pray that whether we are alive in the moment of the end or whether we are waked up to meet Jesus, that you will bless every one of us and our families, our children, everyone who is near and dear to our hearts. We thank you for these blessings and more. In Jesus' name, amen.